Hey YouTube, on top of Great League Remix this week, we also have Ultra League. I haven't covered Ultra League in a while here. I actually, just to give you an understanding of how little Ultra League is being played right now, I had to grab teams from myself, HomesliceHenry, Jonkus, and ITSAXN to actually fill out a roster of teams to showcase to you guys because it is unfortunately, as you can see on the list here, very XL dependent. And with it, XL legendary dependent, and with it, it just makes it unplayable for a lot of people. So as you can see here, sort of the newer Pokemon, Grumpig, Corviknight, XLs, Lapras. You don't need XLs for Lapras, although you can. I think it's up to like 42 and a half or something like that. So buff Lapras, and then you have Dust Noir with XL for Alligator. Of course, is for Alligator. And again, Giratina, Tinkaton, new Tinkaton XL, Jellicent, Zygarde, Primeape XL, Gastrodon XL, Weezing XL, Clefable, Runerigus. It's easier to say which ones aren't the XLs, and that's like for Alligator. So, as you can see, a very, very XL heavy dominated meta. The meta is actually not too bad because there's enough play in some of these Pokemon in like the 30, 40 that you can like kind of have a lot of, I was going to say luxury in team building where it's like XL Tentacruel, Drapion, Talonflame, Pangoro. These are all Pokemon in the 40s that are very usable. You go down to 50, Guzzlord, Shadow Zapdos, Shadow Annihilate, Swampert. Like these are all Pokemon that are still very usable in the league, and that's what this Ultra League has always been better with. It seems that the Great League meta shrinks very, very quickly and it turns into RPS. And it seems like Ultra League, there's enough variation in the Pokemon that you are able to use that allows you to have the flexibility to like use a bunch of these Pokemon and test them out. So speaking about Pokemon tested out, at the beginning of the season, I always test out the new Pokemon to see how they fare in the Ultra League. And Lapras seems like the easiest one because you are able to, you can build it up without having to use Excels. So Lapras, Annihilate, Registeel. I started with Lapras, obviously, and then I'm like, okay, what are we weak to? We're weak to Electric, weak to Fighting, and then I put in Annihilate there, and then I was like, okay, Annihilate is weak to Fairy and Psychic and stuff, so I'm like, okay, a Steel makes sense. I have Registeel, which has enough coverage. You are double weak to Fighting and Lapras and Registeel, but you have Psywave on Lapras, and you have, if it's like a Dark, Focus Blast on Registeel, so you have enough to answer sort of the weaknesses that you may see here. And then I tried Galarian Weezing, and Galarian Weezing is a beast. It is so spammy. Sludge is such a big improvement, and you can run it with Brutal Swing in this meta because there's enough Psychics and Grumpig and Ghosts and Giratina and Dusclops, Dust Noir. One of the Ghosts. So with Sludge Brutal Swing, you're obviously going to have some problems with like steals and stuff. You just have like a non-stab Brutal Swing is not going to cut it. So put in for Alligator. And then Armored Mewtwo. This is one Pokemon that there's a couple Pokemon that I just love playing every season in the Ultra League, and it's Armored Mewtwo and it's Shadow Zapdos. And those two Pokemon I just love playing. Armored Mewtwo is an absolute beast of bulky Pokemon. Does not hit as hard. Like again, I feel bad for people. You're going to see this on Poke Daxi's interview tomorrow. We talk about every Pokemon comes back except Armored Mewtwo. This is one Pokemon that truly was only at once like 6 years ago, has not come back. A fun Pokemon to play, but understand if you don't have it. So again, this was safe swap. I think this is probably balanced team with Weezing as a safe swap. Tried Jellicent. Jellicent got buffed with Hex, and Jellicent was already strong in this meta. In fact, if you're looking at like some of my legend teams from like 5-6 years ago, Jellicent is on my Ultra League legend teams. It is a very, very strong Pokemon. Gets even better with that buffed Hex. So they're going to be weak to grass and stuff. So I put in Typhlosion because I'm having a lot of fun with Typhlosion. I feel like, I don't know if it's just like a mental thing where it's just like I'm craving these Pokemon. I'm craving these Pokemon that we have not had much use in typing wise in the past like 6 seasons, and with all the ground and water, fire's just been on the outskirts. But you know, now you're seeing more Steels and Corviknight and Tinkatong, and I'm just like, you know what, fire's now starting to rise a little bit here. So Typhlosion I think is one of the better ones because you do have Thunder Punch coverage for those water Pokemon. So if you save swap Typhlosion, you get like a for Alligator, you can actually spam quite a lot of Thunder Punches and put on pressure. So that's that. And a couple more I think I showcased Torch Song. Wow, this Pokemon plays very, very differently than it used to, and it is another one that is, I think, very, very strong now with Torch Song. So before you had like this Shadow Ball and Disarming Voice. Disarming Voice was like a nice coverage move for your like darks, which are weak to. But Torch Song not only does like decent amount of damage, it buffs your attack. And for those of you who have played the game, you know that Incinerate is one of the best fast moves in the game, if not the best fast moves in terms of damage and energy combo there. So buffing your attack is fantastic. It does leave you limited against some Pokemon. Like you essentially just took out your only answer to Guzzlord, right? Double weak to Fairy as a Dark Dragon, and then Dragon will resist the Fire, and the Dark will resist the Shadow, like the Ghost. So that's why I kind of put in. I don't even know if this is my team. It's probably not my team based on the ELO range. Malamar and Blastoise. So Blastoise is a really nice safe swap Ice Beam coverage for your Dragons. And then Superpower on Malamar, again, to deal with Guzzlord if you need to deal with that. And very similar, it's almost identical. Let's just throw this team. You got Lead, same, Blastoise instead of Feraligatr, and Pangoro instead of Malamar, right? So it's just exact same contact, exact same coverage. So that is why that team works. Okay, let's start looking at other content creators. Always start with HomesliceHenry. And wow, 3 Pokemon, 2 of them I already covered, and 1 is the top ranked Pokemon. So again, Weezing. This one with Play Rough. Yeah, I mean, you can use Play Rough or Brutal Swing. I just prefer Brutal Swing based on the spam, but if you actually want like a harder hitting move, for sure use that. Again, you just trade off being able to throw anything at steals here. Psywave user in Lapras, great safe swap. Ice Beam for coverage, and then Grumpig. Grumpig is the top ranked Pokemon in this meta. Psywave, it's a double Psywave user here. It is fantastic. That's why you have a what resists Psywave, but Dark. So Fairy went on the front to deal with the Dark, but also steals are going to be a little bit of a problem. But you have Sparkling Aria, you have Dynamic Punch, so you can kind of combo, the steals in the back there. And then it's ITSAXN, Thunderfang, Steelix, and Golisopod, 2 on the team that I have not covered. 2 Pokemon that are very strong for different reasons. Thunderfang Steelix is a kind of a 2-shield menace with the Thunderfangs, as long as you don't run into like a grounder or anything. Or I guess Dragon. With Dragon you got Breaking Swipe though. But the Thunderfang could just like add up and then lower the opposed defense, and you're bulky. And you really just put a lot of pressure on, so you can like kind of 2-shield it out. And Aqua Jet on Golisopod. Golisopod was already like a borderline strong Pokemon to use. Everyone just used Feraligatr because it had Hydro Cannon, right? And Ice Beam gave you coverage. But they're both Shadow Claw users. And then the typing differentiation with the bug really helps in some situations, like resisting the fighting, resisting ground. So it picks up that bug typing is actually quite nice. But then it was kind of just always missing like that second move. Like Liquidation was an okay move. Some people just use Aerial Ace for coverage, because if you go in this matchup, you're gonna have no moves for like Giratina, X-Scissor, and Aqua Jet are both resisted. But now you have Aqua Jet that got buffed and put on this Pokemon, and it is just almost a game changer. It is a really, really hard hitting move. It spams pretty quick at like 10 energy. So it's a great new move for this Pokemon. Why is Weezing on every single team? Is it that strong? Yes, as a safe swap, it is that strong. Pangoro's a nice one. I think probably. I was trying to think if it's a top fighter in Ultra League. It's either that or like the Annihilate. There's really, I'm talking. That's fair to say. I was gonna say I'm talking about pure fighter as opposed to just ignoring Virizion and Cobalion as they're not fighters, but yes they are. So they're probably up there as well. But again, if you're gonna use Fairy Wind user with Sludge and non-stab Brutal Swing, you need something for the steals, and then you got 2 of them, Mudslap user, and Pangoro. Holy smokes! And last one here, he used Fortress, Jellicent, and Dust Noir, double Ghost in the back. I would be safe swapping. I would say I would be safe swapping Jellicent. But if you pull out a Dark, having the Dynamic Punch on Dust Noir is not bad either. So I don't even know what the safe swap would be. I personally like just using Jellicent as a safe swap because you have the additional bulk, and I think it provides you a little more flexibility. But if you're talking coverage, if you get hit with a if with a Guzzlord, Dynamic Punch in the back pocket is probably better. So I don't know what you would actually use as a safe swap, but he mentioned that Fortress is the core breaker here. Rock Tomb, Earthquake, right? Kind of a nice coverage, right? You have your electric that just hits hard in most cases. Earthquake for coverage if it's like a ground that will resist Rock Tomb and Volt Switch. And Earthquake's a nice move. It's got some bulk. So there's that. Now, again, it took me... I pulled 9 teams over 2 months of Ultra League so far. Now, it hasn't been too much monthly, but it's probably been on at least... I'm going to say minimum 5 times already. So that gives you the sense of how many people are playing Ultra League, or at least that are like going to watch the videos, and people kind of know that. So, you know, between the Poke Daxi interview tomorrow and event coverage and the Great League remits, which a lot of people will be playing, I don't know if I'll showcase an Ultra League team this week. I think it's probably just going to be a lot of Great League teams with the interview and then event coverage this week is my guess. But yeah, so if you're looking to submit some teams, link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.